Hello everyone, this is Chad. Well, in this video, I'm going to take you out on a farm tour. It's been a year since we started planting on this 20-acre organic farm. And in this video, I'm going to show you what we have planted. And we're going to open soon for UPick as well. So let's get started and let me show you what we have. And somebody is waiting for me outside the door as well.
Lily! Lily, how are you? Wait. Lily, sit. Good girl. Hello. Very good girl. Very good girl. Yes, you are. Lily, you wanna go on a farm tour? You're gonna take the subscribers on a farm tour, you and I. You wanna go? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
That over there is the 4 acres of stone fruit orchard.
Let's go.
While I'm making the video, I'm watering the trees as well. First, we're going to start from the 500 trees, the stone fruit trees we planted last year. And that was planted last February. And I posted a video about that as well. I covered the whole process too. And over here, we have cherries, peaches, nectarines, plums, apriums, pluots. We have pears, pomegranates growing here. As I mentioned before, we have different varieties of each one of these trees. We have 9 varieties of cherries, which are going to mature anywhere from mid of April to mid of June. We have 7 varieties of peaches, 6 of nectarines, different varieties of apricots, pluots, and plums and apriums as well. And then we also have pomegranates and many different varieties of pears too. So here we have an apricot tree, and these trees are already producing fruit. There's fruit on these trees, and every tree has quite a bit of fruit. However, we're going to thin more than half, at least 50% of it. So most of the energy goes into making the tree bigger, and we also get a bigger fruit as well. Check out the peaches growing on this tree as well. There are quite a bit of peaches, and they're right about at the time where we're going to thin them. Right now these peaches are really close. If you keep them this close, they're going to be really small, and also the growth of the tree is going to be stunted as well. These are pomegranates, and they're growing really well as well. And we have rows of pears as well. We have Asian pears and Bartlett pears. So dealing with weeds is one of the biggest challenges in organic gardening. just keeps playing. Up. Okay. So dealing with weeds is one of the biggest challenges in organic gardening. So all commercial orchards use Roundup to control weeds. Now, in organic gardening, we don't use chemical pesticides, chemical fertilizers, or chemical herbicides. So I'm using high-strength vinegar and organic herbicides and organic pesticides such as neem oil, pure castle soap, such as that, to control the pest pressure and also to control the weeds. However, we still have a lot of weeds growing, and I let them grow a little bit in spring to produce flowers so that the bees can collect nectars, and then we just mow it all. Now, we had a problem when all the weeds were growing right around the trunk of the tree, and it was hard to get any more or anything else right beside the tree to get rid of those weeds. So we had to go with the weed whacker or weed trimmer. Now we have applied a lot of mulch, since it's a really big area, lots of trees. So I was running behind in applying mulch in all of these trees. So this spring I actually did it. All the trees have been mulched, and there's no weed pressure right around the trees. So I'm watering the trees as I'm making the video, and I actually check each one of the sprinklers at least once in 2 weeks. I usually use my drone to do that. And as you can see, there's a mulch all around the tree, but there's no mulch right around the trunk of the tree. And that's because if you apply mulch right near the tree, if it's touching the bark of the tree, it can cause a root rot. So you want to keep the mulch a little bit away from the tree. And if there are any weeds that are growing right next to the trunk of the tree, that can be mitigated by using vinegar. So these cherry trees are producing flowers, and all of these flowers are going to turn into cherries. So here's the earlier variety of cherry. As you can see, this tree is producing cherries already. Still, it's a young tree, but it's going to start producing cherries this year. Look at these. We are starting to have some production. The cherries are coming on these trees. It is not a lot of production because we're still growing. All the trees are still young and they're growing, but they're starting to produce. Next up, Lily and I are going to show you all of these grapes. We have 5 rows of grapes and we have 10 different varieties of grapes. We have Thompsons, we have Concord seedless, we have Concord seeded, the heirloom variety. We have Himrods, Red Flame, Crimson, Venus. We have blueberry grapes. These grapes actually look like blueberries, and I've heard that taste like a little bit like blueberries as well. I never tasted them before, but we planted them, so hopefully next year we'll get some and I'll get to taste them as well.
So all of these grapes are doing pretty good, and we are also mulching these rows of grapes, raspberries and blackberries as well. That's what we are in the process of doing as well. Some of these grapes were 2-year vines when we planted them last year, so we're going to have some grapes this year as well. These are blueberry grapes and they have these purple shoots and they look really pretty.
Next up we have raspberries, and we have 5 different varieties of raspberries. We have Nantahalas, Encore, Baba Red, Polka Red and Yellow End. And yellow ends look yellow or golden, and they're absolutely delicious when ripe.
These raspberries are starting to produce as well. And last year we also got quite a bit of raspberries. Not enough to sell, but they were quite a bit for us to have and also give to our family and friends. Now that we have filled all the rows of these raspberries and these raspberry plants are getting mature, we are going to have quite a bit to sell this year.
All of these raspberry varieties taste really good, and they also produce at different times as well. And these Nantahalas are absolutely delicious as well. Next up we have blackberries and different hybrids of blackberries as well. So we have 5 different kinds of blackberries. We have Sweetheart, Primark, Navajo, Triple Crown and other varieties as well. However, we also have some hybrids such as loganberry, boysenberry and tayberry.
These blackberries are producing flowers as well, and these are going to be loaded with blackberries by midsummer and late summer.
Next up are strawberries, and these are seascape strawberries that we planted last year in 4 rows that are 150 feet long. And these strawberries are absolutely delicious, and they're ever-bearing varieties, so they produce anywhere from April all the way up until October. So we get strawberries all season long.
Well, check it out. They're already starting to produce, and it's still beginning of April. There are a lot of flowers on these strawberries, so they're going to be filled with strawberries by the end of April.
Last year I made a video on these strawberries, so check it out if you're interested. I'll leave a link to the video in the description. Next up we planted blueberries, and we planted 1,600 plants of blueberries and 5 different varieties of blueberries that are going to produce from May all the way till August. We planted Susie Blue, Snow Chaser, Victoria Star and Legacy.
These later varieties of blueberries are now producing flowers, so these are going to be ready to pick in about a couple of months. We pinched off about 50% of the flowers so that most of the energy goes into the plant and not producing fruit. And the weeds were starting to grow out of the holes where we planted the blueberries as well in the weed block tarp. So we cut it out and also put in a lot of pine shavings in there, which actually helps to acidify the soil as well. Blueberries love acidic soil, and they love pine needles and pine shavings as well. So this is the earlier variety of blueberry, and check it out. There's quite a bit of blueberries on this plant. This plant was filled with blueberries all the way down, but we thinned it all and only kept a couple of crowns of blueberries on top. Well, check out all of these nice blueberries too. This is the earlier variety, which is the Snow Chaser.
I contacted John. He has a UPick berry farm in Hanford, and I made a video on his farm as well on how to grow blueberries, and he grows a lot of blueberries too, and he's very successful at doing that. So I often reach out to him about advice on growing blueberries, and one thing he said is thin those blueberries. I'm not sure if I did it enough. We took out at least 50%, but they still are producing a lot more blueberries. So the idea behind thinning the blueberries is that you take away half of the fruit, so the most of the energy of the plant goes into growing roots and more leaves, so it produces a lot more blueberries next year. You only have to thin the blueberries the first year you plant. You don't have to do that in following years. If you want to check out the video on how to grow blueberries, the link is in the description, and you get to meet John as well. And over here we're building half an acre of vegetable garden as well. I'm not going to be able to fill this whole garden this year because I have a lot of stuff going on. We have lots of varieties of blueberries, raspberries and stone fruit that we planted. And coming up, we also planted another 1,200 trees of cherries as well that I'm going to cover as well. So that's why I've been lagging in videos, because I was preparing all the ground. I was making it leveled, making the rows, and then contracting with the labor contract to plant those trees, and afterwards making sure they all get water and they are mulched. So there was a lot of work that went into that, and that's why I've been very sporadic in making these videos. But now I'm going to pick up the slack and start making more videos and keep you guys updated as well. So in next year, this whole vegetable garden will be full. This year, let's see how much I can do. There were about 5 people actually that contacted me from YouTube, from the comment section, and they contacted me and they wanted to come and volunteer here as well. So they helped me plant this vegetable garden and get it started. Now I'm going to work towards expanding it. So we have this about 4-inch slit in between the weed block that we left to plant these plants, and we are going to cover it up with mulch. So all the walkways are covered with weed block, and where the plants are going to be covered in mulch, which is going to keep the weed block down as well. So this is just another way of planting. So all of my mulch is going towards the trees. So I'm going to use as little mulch here to keep the weeds down from growing in between these slits, and also to keep the weed block down as well. Next up is the fall garden. It contains all the fruit that's going to mature in fall, and that contains oranges, apples, jujubes, and persimmons. Next up, we are growing oranges. We have mandarins, tangerines, we have a Valencia and Washington navel oranges as well. And I had a problem with these oranges because they're planted downhill. They're planted at the end of the hill. And let me show you what was going on. So the water is coming from way up the hill over there, and it trickles down up here, and then makes it all the way down to these oranges. And I would turn off the water way back there, but then there would be like hundreds of gallons, about 250 gallons of water in the pipe that was draining here right at the oranges, and they waterlogged the oranges. Oranges got too much water and they started turning yellow. So this is how the oranges started to become. And now they're finally recovering. They're outputting new shoots and they're trying to recover. So I put a valve in at the end of this line to stop the water from coming in after I turn off the valve. Well, look at all the new growth that's coming in. Next up, we have apples. We have Fuji, Pink Lady, Ambrosia, and Honeycrisp apples, and they are producing flowers as well. So we'll get some apples too. These apples are going to be ready to harvest in October and November. So here we have the jujube tree, and we have some persimmon trees as well. We have 4 jujube trees, and we have 6 persimmon trees. Now another fruit that we are growing is pawpaw. It's a Native American fruit. It looks like a mango and tastes like a banana. We planted these as bare root trees and they're starting to bud. So let's see how they turn out. Next up, we are growing avocados, and we are growing Stewart avocado trees. I made a separate video on how to grow avocado from a pit or from a seed. And I also made a video on tips to grow avocado trees as well. So check those out if you're interested. And then we have some French prunes growing. And we also have almonds. Poppy flowers grow naturally here. They're California native and they're absolutely beautiful to look at. We are located south of Sacramento. We are about 45 minutes south of Sacramento and 1.5 hours east of San Francisco in California. And we are going to open UPick for limited customers only this May, because we don't have a huge production going on right now. There's production going on, but it's very little. The trees are still young, the berries are young, so we'll have some production. And next year we'll be ramping that up. And for this year, we're gonna see what's happening with COVID, keep social distancing, and then have scheduled appointments to come in and pick at our farm as well. And last, we have planted 1,200 cherry trees. We have planted coral champagne, which we are pollinating with brooks. So we planted those early this spring, and it took a lot of time to prepare this ground and plant 1,200 cherry trees. But they are done, they are in. We've already mulched them so the weeds don't grow right around the trees. They just look like sticks right now. We chopped them from the top and the shoots are going out from the sides. You can't see very clearly, but all the land on the sides of the house and the back of the house, all 8 acres, have been planted with cherry trees. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the farm tour with Lily as well, and I'll see you in another video.